I think we can just start easing in because it's going to be like a short 30-minute session. We're going to power through, and I just want to take this time to thank everyone for joining during your lunchtime, and really want to thank Luke for dedicating his time to help everyone on this call, and also anyone who watched this the recording after. And yeah, so welcome to bMightie and Luke Marshall's session that time with you, and I'll just let Luke introduce himself, and then we'll get started on the session.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Sylvia, and thanks everyone for the attendance. We had some early birds, so great to see that. And a bit about myself. My name's Luke Marshall. I'm a growth marketing strategist. I work with startups and scale-ups and basically set up their marketing engines. But today we're not talking about me. We're talking about a bit of a how-to on how to multiply your marketing output with AI tools. And as Sylvia alluded to, you see AI mentioned over the last 6 months, has increased exponentially. It's been around a while longer, but I think what's changed in that, say, 6 to 9 months is the usability of these tools has gone through the roof. And rather than give you some unusable theoretical steer on what AI is doing, we're going the other way. So being really practical and hands-on. The goal of this session is simply to give you some proven methods to grab your marketing content and multiply it, stretch it, create more of it in a way that works for you and your organization. And so for those of you on the call and for those of you listening later, we do have a cheat sheet. So you can take notes, absolutely, but we'll share the cheat sheet with you afterwards as well as a part of the follow-up. And just a reminder to anyone who's just joining the call, if you could put yourselves on mute as it's been defaulting to mic on, that would be really helpful. So cool. In the next less than 30 minutes, we're going to cover the fundamental AI tools and sort of what are the reliable ones that you can use that will help you in sort of stretching and multiplying your marketing content, and also some leads on where to find others. Some of you may have heard of the term second brain. So we'll give you some quick advice about what that is and how to do it to keep your marketing ideas churning and fresh. And then we'll walk you through some practical examples. So the first example I want to share with you is basically how to produce a live video and then spin it further into multiple bits of marketing content. And the second example will be something different in terms of stretching a hero piece of content like a blog, a webinar, and making it work harder for you. And then we want to leave you with, I guess, the idea that your goal in sort of playing with these tools and experimenting is you really want to create a content engine. So by that, we mean something that's relevant to you and your organization, creating some storytelling mechanics that will help inform and stretch those ideas, and most importantly, be authentic. I think we've all been guilty of and have seen people copy pasting content, and you can really see the difference in quality almost immediately. So we'll give you some steering on sort of how to avoid that. So first, I wanted to cover off new tools and where to find them. Two really popular resources that have exploded in the last 6 months. One is by bMightie. Ben actually was a repeat founder. So Ben started a startup called, after being a part of Product Hunt, MakerPad's no-code tools. So they got acquired by Zapier recently, and he's moved into AI. And so the bMightie newsletter is amazing. There's a multitude of tools and reviews and news that are happening and coming out daily. And so if you really want to get into it, that's an excellent resource for reviewing. He also has a database on his website, so you can actually view and see what you can do with AI as well. And then secondly, because we're talking about AI tools as well, there's an AI for that. So say you've got a specific use case. It might be journaling, it might be coaching, it might be getting product market fit. So if you type that into there's an AI for that, it'll actually tell you all the tools that are out there that it knows of that can help you with that. And I guess the call out here is that most will give you a sample or something free, but it's also very overwhelming. Like there's dozens, if not hundreds, of tools coming out every day. And so on the following slide, I want to show you, I guess, the reliable ones, the ones that that I've been tried and tested and used repeatedly, rather than always chasing the new shiny thing. Although that can be a lot of fun as well. And if you look at that chart that I've got in the background, this is a Google search for AI tools for marketing over the last 5 years. Over the last 5 years, barely any. And then if you look from February onwards, the chart's just gone like that. So demand is definitely going berserk. Cool. So in terms of what we got into the reliable tools, tried and tested, and ones that I can vouch for, all of these have trial editions or are free. And I want to talk through them and and what they can be used for in the rest of the presentation as well, for stretching and multiplying your marketing content. So at the top of the list, I've got Copy AI. There are other tools out there like Jasper. Copy AI has a pretty generous free version. What it does is allow you to type in a prompt and then, generate words, blog outlines, social posts. It's excellent for social media ads and has just released a workflows tool. So we'll come back to that in a second. Adobe Express is recently in beta. They attracted a lot of attention with their demo that allowed the gradient fill and being able to do interesting things with Photoshop. I feel like Express has flown under the radar a bit in that you can get some pretty cheap, easy tools like remove background, generate images with Adobe Express, and it's a bit like a Canva competitor. So definitely encourage you to check out that one. Descript uses AI to transcribe, but it does a lot more than just transcribing. It can push to other channels. You can record demos with it, similar to what you would with Loom. And the fourth one in the stack that I'm sort of advocating for is craft writing. You can also use Notion. There's many others like Evernote as well. A lot of these tools have now implemented AI assistants on top of what they do. And so if you're gathering a lot of notes or capturing a lot of information, being able to just right click and get it to do something else is really helpful. And I'll share what that is as well. And then ChatGPT for generally figuring things out. So I pay for the paid version. I think it's worthwhile. We're on a steep learning curve here. Anything that I can do to sort of feed into it and see what we get has been really interesting for me. But let's step out of tools mode for a second. And I can see some great questions in here. Can we do everything that Copy AI does with GPT-4? Copy AI integrates GPT-4. What it does on top of that is actually overlay copywriting mechanics and methodology into the AI as well. So what you'll find is the output from a Copy AI will generally be better than someone who's going to ChatGPT from scratch. And it's worth checking out and comparing the differences yourself. So with marketing, generally any new marketing endeavor for any new business, any organization, generally what happens is I don't know what to say or how to say it. And so I'm here to tell you that's okay. That's normal. It happens to everyone. And the goal here is to sort of help you get the reps up, gather inspiration, and find your brand's voice or your startup's voice. So the way we can start with that, if you're starting from a zero base or just getting stuck on how to voice things for your organization, is building a second brain. Now, it's well outside the scope of this webinar, but there's a variety of resources in this space which talk about gathering notes, using things to create a swipe file and categorizing and organizing it. And the benefit of doing this is that instead of getting to the start of the month or the start of the week and not knowing what to say, you've got a library of inspirational assets that you've been reading and reviewing and highlighting that can inform what you're going to say. And so it really helps in sort of preventing white page syndrome or knowing what to say. And there's a building a second brain post that explains what it does. And there's a book as well, which you can jump into. But having a system that you can go into your notes and see what you can talk about and when is really good. And it also works really well with craft. So what I find is I'll highlight something, share it into craft, and then I can either riff off that and write with that, or I can open the assistant if it's a longer piece of content and say, what's the 3 or 5 bullet points I need to hit here? And the assistant will literally scan the text and churn it out for me, all within my own interface, which I thought was pretty cool. Cool. So if you remember one thing for this webinar, I hope you remember more than one thing, but this is the recipe for creating more marketing, particularly with AI tools. So the first step we've just talked about, gathering inspiration. So finding content types. This is types of posts, types of stories, the way things go, looking at the way various brands look, gathering interesting trends. TikTok is amazing for this in that trends emerge and then disappear in the space of a week. And so staying abreast of what's being talked about currently is a really good way to gather inspiration. And then writing in public consistently. So LinkedIn is really easy. Most people have one. And my coaching or advice to people that are sort of new on this journey, post something once a week and don't look at the metrics. Just commit to putting yourself out there once a week and the magic does follow. And what you'll find when you are writing in public and sort of building something in public and talking talking through it is your voice finds itself over time. You don't need to worry about finding your voice or knowing what to say. The process will take care of that if you commit to doing it weekly. Cool. So you've got your inspiration or you've got marketing already underway. The second step of this process is to create a hero piece. Now, ordinarily, what we might be tempted to do is do short posts, short videos, or short emails because it's a lower amount of time to do that sort of stuff. I'm saying do the opposite here. So the way you can make this more effective and more in depth is create a long form piece of content that you want to test. So this could be a webinar like this, which will absolutely be applying this process to this webinar as well. It could be a blog post. It can be a presentation that you like and record it and do a transcript or a live stream. Video tends to work really well here, or a blog post that's long form. So, 2,500 words or plus, and get it done. We'll talk you through the examples and how to use it, but committing to say one long form piece of marketing per month is achievable. And then what that enables is the third step, which is multiplying it with tools. So I'll walk you through that process in a sec, but feeding it into the tools creates more ways to say the same thing differently and still add value. And so rather than just give you the recipe, I want to walk you through the way this could work if you're producing regular live streams or regular video, and what you could do with the tools I've suggested to enable this. So with the video like this, you record the video. That's fairly straightforward. The next step in the process would be jumping into Descript. And Descript, again, it has a fairly generous free version. You upload the video file into Descript and hit transcribe. What this does is give you words for the content that you've just done. Now, the words in and alone on themselves, negligible value. But what you can do with those words is actually copy them and move them over to a tool like Copy AI. And I saw a question about ChatGPT. You could absolutely do it with ChatGPT as well. And literally say, I'm posting a video transcript into Copy AI. Please give me 3 to 5 social posts targeted at an audience that's in the startup space and curious about learning. And then it would scan the transcript and spit out those suggested social posts, and then you can actually ask Copy AI to adapt them based on your needs. So we know with Instagram, for example, there's more hashtags and emojis. It would do that for you. You can also get it to create a YouTube video description, which is normally quite manual for the upload of the webinar. You can tell it to create Twitter threads and streams, and it'll give you tweet by tweet, or I don't know what happens when they're not called tweets anymore because it's called X. Are they still called tweets? I don't know. That one's to be resolved. Or a LinkedIn post with a story mechanic, which we'll get to, which could be tension, climax, and resolution. It gives it all of you. And the benefit of creating a hero piece of content first is that when it reiterates and spits out these other pieces of content, it's going to be close to your voice, or closer to your voice than if you were doing it the other way around. And so some visuals, sort of how this process works. There's a video I recorded for a bit of an experiment I was doing called speed marketing. I recorded the video and then uploaded it into Descript. And if you can see on the third sort of window there, that's what Copy AI looks like. So I can just say, turn this video transcript into a YouTube video description, and it'll do a pretty good job. It'll require editing, but that's a pretty fast way to turn it around, and multiple post formats off the back of that as well. I mentioned Copy AI has now released a workflows tool. So if you're doing this at scale, there are solutions that would help you enable this with automation as your engine got running. The second example, is turning a hero piece, say from a presentation or a webinar, and then following a similar process. So we record the webinar similar to this one, or an example that I've got there, transcribe into Descript, and then you could push it into Copy AI or ChatGPT. And because of the size, you actually want to do it in stages. And so the way a prompt works like this, say it's 2,500 words, I'm going to give you a transcript that's 2,500 words long. I'm going to give it to a series of 5 stages. I will tell you when the next stage is coming, and then it'll go, okay, post, 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 and that gets around some of the length limits. ChatGPT in particular has recently increased the token limit, but it'll remember things up top if you stagger it that way. And then prompt, turn in 3-5 social posts. Email newsletters as well is a big one. bMightie uses a lot of automation for generating his content as well. So this is the example here with the webinar I did, then popping it into ChatGPT in parts. So I don't want you to respond with anything but okay until I finish posting. And then you can convert it into a blog. Blogs are really interesting in that if you just went and said create a blog, and it'd read pretty crappily, but if you've done the heavy lifting and work in sort of crafting, say, a video transcript or a longer form piece of content, then it becomes easier to convert it into other formats because you've injected the thinking there. So I'll just keep an eye on my watch because I am cognizant of time as well, but there is one sort of last key piece that I wanted to share with you that is really helpful as well. As we've been playing with these tools, I wanted to introduce the concept of storytelling mechanics. And so the image that I've got on the right, classic examples. So objection, social proof, outcome. And so if you look, this is from Harry's marketing examples, the feeding it into a mechanic like that delivers a much better outcome than if you weren't using the mechanic itself. AIDA is a very old framework: attention, interest, desire, and action. And so if you look at the poster for Porsche here, that's an example of what it is. But the reason I'm sharing these storytelling mechanics with you is you can play with the AI tools and get your content and then pour it through these storytelling mechanics to get to a better outcome. So I just asked ChatGPT to give us 10 to 15 storytelling mechanics that would make good social posts: situation, complication, question, and answer. And so it'll take the content you've created and you can combine it with the storytelling mechanic, and it delivers a better result or a better post that can be edited for you to engage with. So it stretches the content even further than what if you were simply just saying create a post. You can take that post and then feed it through a storytelling mechanic, overlay your own personality and branding over it, and you've got even more content, which is a really good thing in terms of taking care of some of the heavy lifting because you've done the work in sort of creating a long form piece of content before. And so the benefit of this is that you can also keep testing with different mechanics over time and build a playbook. So, this is an example, that blog I shared. I've just got a screen grab here of craft and using the AI assistant. And I wanted to grab the blog and say, turn it into a LinkedIn post with situation, complication, question, and answer. And then that's the output that it's sort of drafted there for me that can be easily copy pasted. So just some call outs to sort of wrap things up on this sort of process. What you want to do with something like a Copy AI or ChatGPT is keep things in the same prompt window or project, keep the voice or theme the same. So say you're working with a particular brand or business, or you've got a particular project, keeping it all in the same window to an extent will help you preserve that voice. Also, Copy AI has now added brand voice functionality into the workflow, and ChatGPT actually lets you in the beta test some of these voices formats as well. Output gets verbose very quickly. So even if we look at that post on LinkedIn, it's probably a bit long and the sentences are a bit long. So one hack around this is using short sentences, making sure it's easy to read on a mobile phone, and using grade 5 language. What that means is just words that are simple, not many syllables, and easy to understand. That can dumb it down. The beauty of grade 5 language is you can actually ask the AI to do that for you and then tidy it up. I'd highly recommend continue to follow others in this sort of new and exciting frontier and watch what they're doing. Copy AI 2 years ago is a shadow of what it is now. Absolutely incredible for scaling social ads. And one last call out, I mentioned it briefly earlier, don't copy and paste crap. We can see it a mile away. It's much better to create something, even if you think you're not as proud of it, and then tweak it with AI to help it be better, than to create something from scratch with AI, because it reads really obviously, it's not entertaining to read, and it'll look quite spammy. So yeah, that was me blazing through the presentation and sticking to the under 30 minutes criteria that we set ourselves for this webinar. I can't see anyone because I'm on presenter mode, but I'll switch to Zoom. And yeah, any questions? We've got about a few minutes left. I know Sylvia's been a great chat transcriber in the chat. I've seen that moving all the way through. So yeah, just pop them in chat or turn your mic off. I'm happy to answer them with the last few minutes we've got. I must have answered them all. So that's all good. As I said, we've got a cheat sheet for you that sort of summarizes what we've shared, and we'll include that in the follow-ups. And yeah, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or visit my website, I've got a newsletter that I'm writing about this stuff each week. More than happy to have you.
Thanks so much, Luke. Like, yeah, hi everyone. Like, so it's I don't know about you, but for me, it was like I don't know, like what do you call it? Like a fire hose of like knowledge, and
Yes.
actually super excited to go try out the various tools. And yeah, I can definitely see there's a transition when like people started using AI, and a lot of content started becoming like the quality is just not great. Just tell like very verbose, and it just doesn't look authentic, and that kind of like disappear after a while, after the initial like trend. And it's good to know that how people are still continue to use AI, but now in a more authentic way. Straight AI, I was looking at Darren's comment, that straight AI content creates a sense of mystery. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And
I'm all for being human first and then using it to refine with the right prompts, right? So to your point, Luke, a great presentation, by the way, as a speed dating experience. It is about the prompts and knowing your, ultimately, like every marketer, know your audience.
Yeah.
Try and define exactly what the triggers are and what they want to know more of or about, and prompt the shit out of it. You just got to test it, right?
100%. And I'd
Right.
say for most founders, they're subject matter experts, not necessarily marketing experts.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
the subject matter, you can get that out and write it in whatever way you're comfortable with. The AI can help you publish it.
Yep.
But if you're just marketing without the substance first, it's
Yep.
going to show.
Yeah. I'm always for, if you're going to do anything, have a reason for it, not just because you have to do it. So think first. Yeah.
Great. Well, a fire hose, like drinking from a fire hose, Sylvia, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we definitely wanted to pack it full of as much information as possible. So I hope you all got something out of it. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming.
thank you, everyone. Oh yeah,
Thank you.
we will share the recording as well as the cheat sheet. Like, thanks for joining. And if you have any further questions or feedback, like, feel free to send them through as well. Like, thank you, everyone. Yeah, it's very helpful. Like to ask some marketing for try to use it before. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.